Hi folks, welcome to episode, this isn't an episode actually, this is one of our single topic conversations, and it's a follow on from what we had done a few weeks ago, talking about the promotions, kind of powerlifting versus strongman, can we do better? We got a feedback form based on our last conversation that we put out anonymously. And so we're going to go through just some of the bits, I suppose, and just chat generally about it, like some of the good points, some of the stuff like we mightn't be able to act on, or what we'd like to act on, what we will be acting on. Don't really know where I'm going with this, but Cilléin, you might as well kick us off.
Yeah, so I just kind of went through the feedback forms and just kind of no particular order, just kind of made notes and things. So for the most part, you know, majority of people were saying they would be willing to pay between 80 and 120. Now there were some people saying lower, and there were some other people saying higher on that one. And there was even like quite a lot of people were saying they'd even pay for a live stream that we had that Mark McGovern was doing, like, which is good to see. And also kind of going well on fees. People saying as well anywhere between like 10 to 30 euro for spectators. Again, some other people made the point that, you know, cost of living, you know, some people might not be able to afford it, but we're not talking about having entry fees for all competitions. Like obviously, you know, if you have a novice and intermediate competition, it'd be for like, you know, free entry, like, but we're kind of mainly kind of focused on like bigger shows for that. So yeah, I think a lot of people saying as well, more exciting events. And again, I think that's kind of more comes down to like practicality of, and I can understand, you know, some people saying like, you know, doing max sandbag for distance can be a little bit kind of boring and repetitive, which is definitely true. Like, but when you're kind of confined to a small area and fees and everything funding, like you can't be kind of just like, you know, whip out a Hercules hold every now and then. Like,
here's my corner.
Yeah, and like you had a really good point earlier, Cilléin, about like, you know, people say we've maybe used sandbag carry too many times, but like how many we've ran, oh God, how many comps? I think it's 13 comps we're due to run this year.
Yeah.
It's going to pop up on a couple of them.
Yeah.
You know, we do try to change it as much as possible, but like we try the variation of one in Clara where we do the shouldering of the bag and then it's running and shoulder bag and running. And
every big event though, like OSG has the steeplechase with sandbags. Last year was sandbag ladder. The year before had a sandbag and a Hoosfeld into a sled pull. So I hate sandbags ladders. Everyone knows they're not my favorite, but they're the most versatile piece of equipment.
It's a real staple point of strongman, really. Like it's, you have to have some form of moving events, like where like you can't just be all standing still.
Plus, the other side of sandbags is what I like about them is that anybody can go onto Cerberus or Strength Shop or whatever other website sells them, buy a sandbag, go down to your local hardware store, fill it with sand. It takes up no space and you can leave it out in your backyard and train with it. It's so even if you train in a commercial gym, you still have that opportunity to train with strongman stuff and sandbag stuff and be specific to the competition. Whereas like Hercules hold, no one's going to get to train with.
No, or a
except for a Conan's wheel or any of that. And then
fingers. I don't have them in my back pocket.
And then like people want to be at competitions with a lot of people because it creates a good atmosphere and all that. If we were to do a Hercules hold, like, okay, there's a minute of one person at a time holding a Hercules hold. Then you're going to have a few minutes of setting up for the next person because they're quite awkward to set up. So if we were to do something like that, like it would only be really for an open category, maybe. It'd only be for 10 people at most, maybe, because it'll go on all day. And like, I guarantee you guys, if you watch 20 people in a row do a Hercules hold, you're going to get very bored very quickly.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's different if like you're watching like a Giants live show and they might only show you like, say, the top 3 people on it. Like, it's edited down, like, but you're not seeing all 12 of them going out holding it for the full length of time, like, and it's, you know, production wise, like it's grand when you edit it down, but when you have to watch everybody do it over and over, it's kind
I think actually anyone who would have watched Arnold's will get an idea how slow it is. And you end up skipping it forward if you watch it in retrospect because there's so much time between those events.
No, that definitely makes sense. One point we should definitely talk about. Someone's talking about how overcharging might reduce how often people compete. And again, just kind of clarify with this. Obviously, would say there would be novice and intermediate competitions going out there. Like for example, Battle Clara a couple of weeks ago, It was in a small gym, wasn't that many people there. We didn't charge any money for spectators to come in.
No.
It was just a lot of people new to the sport. Like again, what was it, €50 for the
40 entry.
40 for entry fee. Like so, although we're talking about all this, we're not saying we want to completely get rid of those smaller competitions. But you understand, like you can't be like someone who's never done the sport and then expect to pay €120.
Yeah,
straight
like,
off the bat.
like we kind of like we chat about it. We chat about it before starting this podcast earlier. Like my thoughts are maybe for the GSP league to run that at the higher entry fees, but we really focus on the production of a really good live stream and the commentary and all that. Maybe INSF nationals next year, and then the international events. Say if we do UK another year, or maybe the Natural Worlds, we'll probably host that at some point. But then like the Battle of Clara, the Battle of Fermanagh, the Battle of the Tribes later in the year, we probably keep them a lower entry level as far as prices go and as far as ability levels go, and that gives people somewhere to get into the sport. Because like you're 100%, we can't just say go from where we are with everything today and go we're charging everyone €100. And loads of people have suggested that we just do that. I don't think
it's kind of split. I think, isn't it? You've got ones that are like absolutely go up to 100 from tomorrow, I'll pay it, and then you've got the others who are like, well,
Yeah, a large majority of the feedback has been bump it up to at least €80, and some of them 100 to 150. Like definitely not going to 150, lads. Don't worry about that. I don't think I can right now. Anyway,
the tiered approach is a good way to go about it. At the moment, I think.
Because I think for me with the league, say like the GSP league is kind of a big thing for me at the moment, where we're giving prize money to the open lads as it is. So like Limerick is this weekend, we're giving €500 to the winner of the open category. And then like the travel, there's you have to bring in the setup, and we have to drag a crew from here down, and that's a lot of work. Like so where am I going with that one? So the GSP league is kind of what I'm thinking of keeping. I'm thinking of bumping that up from later in the year. Maybe not the third event because that's out there already, and I think the entries are open for that already. They are, so I'm not going to, obviously hike that up now, but maybe later in the year for event 4, and maybe looking into 2024. Bump up the rates for that, and I'm thinking like we have to chat about it obviously as far as the INSF goes, but keeping the likes of the Battle of Fermanagh and Clara and all that.
At a lower,
or then similar
reasonably.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. And maybe we do our first timers comp every year, and again that's still a lower entry fee as well. It's not like, I suppose, not everything has to get ramped up like that.
No, definitely not.
But definitely, I think the competitions that you got your opens with the prize money and all that stuff, that does need to go up. Because they all definitely run at a loss. It's undeniable. Like I can't, we can't argue that fact.
But you'd have to understand as well that you're charging €40 for a competition. It's not going to be the highest production value. Like, maybe you might have Mark McGovern there to do a live stream, but you can't be expecting prize money or like things like
really cool trophies.
Really cool trophies.
Yeah, because like for example, we've got some really cool bespoke trophies made up now for UKNS. Going. Because if we were to do that for all them competitions while charging 40 to 50 quid, we just can't.
No,
it's just not possible.
Unless we'd pay for it ourselves.
Yeah, well, exactly, which is not feasible.
No, it's not.
It's just not in the grand scheme of things. Like so, there has to be a bit of understanding then that if we're running these competitions at a lower entry fee, that's you get what you give out of it, or we give what we get out of it. I suppose, if that makes any sense. If it's cheaper entry fee and there's a lot of categories, well then you're not getting bespoke trophies. Essentially, you're not getting really cool laser cut and painted trophies somewhere.
Okay, so we're talking about prizes and stuff. So I think majority of people were on board that cash prizes should only be for the opens, and maybe for like inters they could have like a bit like kind of like service gear or like vouchers or something like that.
Sponsored.
And I feel like that as well definitely give more of an incentive to go from novice up to inters up to opens then, instead of just like handing out everything at all levels. Because there definitely was a few people who were one person was kind of talking about how saying they'd want €60 for an entry fee but wanted more for prize money, talking about how the prize money should start off at €100 but you're only given €60 for an entry fee. So it's kind of like, where does
that was €100 per event, was it? Or
well, no, they just said what this person was saying, to say have €100 starting off, and then to have like prize money then for an event win on top of that. But then again, only saying €60 for
I think, and that's what triggered this conversation was. And I think that needs to be fully understood by people, that the math doesn't work out on that one. If if you're charging €60, how does that work? Like and this is what we're actually trying to explain, I think, is that especially when there aren't money sponsors on board, we need to work out how we're going to do this actually attractive to people to come in and compete and put in a decent prize money. And €60 entry fee is not going to do that.
No, it's not going to do that. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's a tough one, really. Is it like? Yeah. And I get that people probably are worried that like every promoter around the country is just going to ramp their prices up, but I'm hoping that if they do it, there's some integrity to it as well, and they increase the value of the competition.
Yeah. Actually, just a question. Ayshea, how long was it until you actually got any bit of prize money?
Oh wow!
The first, how many years?
The first prize I got was when I won OSG in 21, and I'd been competing in Strongman for 5 years at that point, I think.
That says it all.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Women haven't had this. I don't know what you need to understand is that for Ireland, it was the Cerberus Cup that gave prize money for women. I'm racking my brains, and sorry if there's somebody out there that can say they got prize money for a female comp, but there isn't, as far as I know. I also know that I was invited to lift in a couple of competitions around the country where there was prize money for overall pound for pound lifter, and there was also prize money for the heaviest log, I think, or heaviest whatever event, but there was no women's prize. It was just for the overall. So it ruled out every woman have actually been able to win any kind of sponsors prize money. Yeah. So effectively, it's been we've looked at 60s, but across the board, women have not been getting prize money until the past 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness as well, the men weren't getting a whole lot either.
No, but they weren't getting a whole lot, but you were getting something. There were competitions to an extent. Yeah. Across the world, if you were
across the world,
Okay, let's go like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And in Ireland, though, there wasn't.
In Ireland there wasn't. No. And you brought that, GSP Systems brought that in, whatever. Promotions. Get the right one. You've got so many
GSPs.
Yeah, so many strings to one's bow. But no, and I think it was never an expectation to go, I'm going to walk into this competition now and expect to get €100 per event, when even at this stage, at the level I'm at now, I think there's prize money at OSG for Europe's for the top 3. As far as now, I'm waiting for the clarification to come out on that. I said, but generally, I'm going to the Ireland's Strongest Women. There's no cash money for that. There's no cash prize for that. If I want to win cash prize money here in Ireland, I would have to come out and do Strong Cup.
Yeah. That'd be the only option.
Now, again, if there's any promoters out there that have put up prize money for women in a competition that I haven't mentioned or I'm not sure about, no offense, but that's how few and far between there are. So
yeah. I think, again, I feel like that's where kind of like a lot of people don't realize kind of like where it's actually how far it's come with it. Like, so again, just with prizes and stuff, like some people saying how, like first place only are getting trophies, and then kind of everybody else is getting certificates as well. So some people are saying that like top 3 should all, like first place get a trophy, and then second and third should get medals. I think one person said that everybody should get a medal, which I definitely don't agree with.
No.
It's not a participation.
No, it's not for me either.
No, not for me. I think, like maybe if it was novice, your first place might get a small trophy, and then maybe a medal for second and third, and novice, like, and definitely maybe medals for second and third and inters, but you got like for a novice when you're starting off, like you got to understand, like it's not like you can't be expecting. I feel like things like that from that level.
Yeah, and like I probably know the comp they're talking about, like, and I've done it many a time. Like, I probably come from the old school mentality a little bit as well. Yeah. Where winners got a trophy and that was it. That's what Strongman was for a long time in Ireland. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just the way it was. And I probably just come from that mentality a little bit. Yeah. I've always despised sometimes what I see in powerlifting, where everyone gets a medal.
Yeah,
that's definitely not for me. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. I think you need to earn what you get. Essentially, now I for the league this weekend, I do have a trophy and medal for second and third for each category, even the class 2, which would be novices. So, and I'm looking at some of the feedback, and that's, I seen that, and I was like, sure, look, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And they got me, and I probably will going forward do something like that. But,
I think we were chatting about it earlier. Is I do think that in any other sport, podium gets something, whether it's trophy and medals or Olympics. It's only 3 medals. It's gold, silver, bronze, right? You get no trophy for that, but you do get recognised for you making that podium, being 2 runners up to the winner. So I think definitely, again, novice and beginners. Should a novice first place get a trophy? No, I'm not too keen on that. I'd go more with medals. But again, everyone, that's my thought. If I was a novice,
so like what I've done for this weekend, is I've got a really big trophy for the Opens, the class 2 or class 1 or inters as it was. I've got like a pretty decent sized trophy as well, and they've all got medals for second and third. And I've got a smaller trophy then for the class 2 or novices as it was. And I don't know, look, if it makes people a bit happier, it's not that much skin off our back as a promoter, I don't think, in fairness, to get a small trophy for novices and a couple of medals.
That podium.
I mean,
I think you're acknowledging the podium. That's the big thing.
I'm acknowledging a podium, I think, and I think that's what I probably will do going forward. Now, where that becomes, it's not too big of a deal when there's only 3 categories in the weekend. That's all I'm running. I know Strongman Ireland are running competition alongside of it. Even if it is coming out of your personal pocket, it's not a huge amount of money. But where it becomes a problem then is if you got say the INSF comps where we charge €40 entry fee, we've got 10 categories at a competition, and next thing you got to get 20 medals and 10 trophies. That's where the bill racks up fairly quick there. So I suppose that's again where we have to be mindful of what we're charging and
of the entry fee,
and the entry fees, how many categories we're putting on in a day, maybe if we are only charging low entry fee. So there's a balancing act there that's quite difficult. But I get that people want to be recognised for top 3. Maybe that's the softer side of me coming out, but you're all softening me up, lads.
Look at it.
So another thing, some few people said about having more competitions in the East, in particular like Leinster and Dublin, which it would be good to see more interest in strongman in that side of the country.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing.
It's just the interest it just isn't there. There are people in the East who do strongman, but majority of them are all powerlifters when it comes to strength sports.
Dublin in particular is very powerlifting
heavy. Hugely.
Now I know there's a couple of we've got Southside. Sandyford. They do have some strongman kit. They have some of our strongman people that we know who are training there. But it's a commercial gym. So also it's okay saying let's put something in Leinster. We can look for that. I know we put a call out actually from Strongman Ireland before for gyms around the country that would be interested.
I've done it as well for NSF
and there's nothing comes forward really for Leinster. So that's the other problem we have. It's finding somewhere that actually is
that wants us and has an adequate space.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing I think.
So I do have somewhere in mind for next year, all right, and I'm going to try and maybe run one of the leagues in Dublin. But there's a little bit of figuring out before we can even pull the trigger on that, because you got to look at space, where you can do movement events, what kind of events you can do there. Again, you got to try and look at hopefully they have some kit, because you don't want to drag everything from the gym up, especially if you're going running, loads of stones and sandbags and stuff, because that's quite weighty. And there's the transport cost of all that as well. So there's a little bit of thinking. I would like to run a competition in Dublin next year, though, because there's a massive catchment area there, and it's if a lot of people are into powerlifting, they might come down and watch, and they go, "Oh, this is really cool. I might try this." So if we want to grow the sport, I think it probably is important for us to try and get an event done somewhere that side of the country.
I think even the most recently with getting Clara, the bang in the centre of the country,
brilliant,
is really opened it up a bit, because it was. Okay, we held a lot of competitions here. That's because we had nowhere else to hold them, unless they were so far up the north as well. So we now have tried to get that scattering. So we have Fermanagh, we have Clara, we have...
It's for INSF. And then
but just generally.
Richard Waycott's gym.
Richard Waycott,
Limerick this weekend.
So we've managed to try and push it forward, but
again, we're trying to. And I'm conscious of as well, and I think somebody mentioned it, that if we do charge more entry fees, they'd worry that the quality of the competition, if it wasn't ran in GSP itself, wasn't as high quality. I'm personally nervous about that myself as well going forward. So like I said to you earlier, maybe the GSP League next year I do 3 events, not 4. And we really focus on just increasing the quality and like being very picky on where I put it as far as gyms go. And yeah, there's a little bit of thinking involved in that one now. Like, but I am personally as well worried about like if we do charge more entry fee, the quality going down. Even for like this weekend coming, like all that's on my mind all week is like, okay, UK's is around the corner, so I'm thinking of that as well and getting the trophies and stuff sorted. But I'm constantly thinking of like making sure Limerick runs really smoothly, really well this week, because once you take it out of GSP, okay, a lot of our crew is coming. It's going to be our kit. But things are going to be different. You know, the space is different. We're not going to know exactly where all the clips are. We're not going to know exactly where all the plates are. Where's a deadlift jack if it was needed? Do you know what I mean? It's at least in here, it's like, Cilléin, grab the deadlift jack. And you know exactly where it is, or John, or whoever. It's so there's a little bit of nerves in that, I suppose, because you want to make sure everything's running really well.
Yeah, totally.
But I suppose it's just down to me getting the planning right, really, and making sure everyone knows what their roles are on the day down there.
So I'm not sure how much we talk about it, but there was a few people talking about higher class competitions for lower weight divisions, and it is something we have talked about and are trying to plan going forwards, but we just can't exactly talk about the precise details. But it is definitely something we want to kind of put more kind of a highlight on and try and like bring more of a boost to the lower weight divisions for both men and women.
So by the end of the year, we should have a high level, high quality under 80s, 90s, and 105s strongman competition here, or at least in Galway.
So
that's all I can say.
So I say, I don't know. Like, do you think that there's probably more competitions for like the lower women's weight divisions than there are for the men's lower weight division?
Absolutely, but I think that's because it's historically it's been there, and we've fought to keep it there. Because even when more recently, when WHA were in, and there was a cut and a change in weight categories, it's something we were not happy about, and we fought to keep it.
It was 75 and then opens. We were like, no.
So I do think as it goes, when we have the women there, we have a far better range of weight classes for the women than the men have had, and we've managed, like I said, to keep hold of that, particularly with Ireland's Strongest Women over the past 7 years has always run that way. So we have our weight categories and we have our masters categories. Yeah,
I don't know. Like I think the weight classes for men kind of just forgotten about a little bit.
So.
Probably guilty of that myself as well, to be honest, and just going, right, we run the class 2, class 1 open kind of a system, which is, you know, it's got its benefits too. But
then it's like you could have some very good people who are, you know, like 80 kilos and they're just stuck in chairs because they're just not heavy enough for an opens.
That's
even though they could be a top class under 80s athlete.
Yeah,
but I think as well, we've taken a massive leap forward in the past 18 months. Right, we came out of the pandemic, and we've literally gone full force ahead with trying to promote and push strongman and bring it to another level. And I think now you've got the class 2 and the class 1 and the opens, and like same with us with the Strong Women League, which is brand new as well. It's been going for a year. So we have all these opportunities, and now maybe it's the time to go, okay, how do we open that up like to the weight categories to give them that opportunity? So it's all moving forward. So it's definitely a positive thing. But I think, something for the men, definitely. They need that.
I think so, And like I said, we by the end of the year plan on, we will have that. And it will be high standard, high quality.
I think especially as there's the opportunities out there now as well. When you look at Clash, you look at OSG, they have all these weight categories. There's so much more opportunities out there now for the under 80s and the under 90s. And and they're very impressive strongmen if we look at social media at the moment.
Like as far as full competitions go, like there's the log deadlifts and the select static monsters and that, but we won't even talk about them. I'm more talking full competitions. Like the only person that has ran like weight class high level strongman comps the last few years is Ultimate Strongman, where they've had the 95s and 110s, but they don't change the weights from 95 up to opens. The 95 guys have to lift the same weights as the opens and all that. So to be honest, I think it's kind of stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like there should be different weights for all the categories, so that you're actually competing, you know, in your class essentially. Like, it's just, it kind of makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, you know, even let them be the same events. If it's a deadlift for reps, then you just slap 20s on for the next category up and 20s on again for the next category up. So yeah, would you even class that as a weight class show? Not really. I don't think you would. Like,
No.
it's fair enough. There's a Ireland's Strongest Man under 95 and 110 title going, but it's kind of just an open show with these
with the
Titles thrown in.
subdivisions.
subdivisions. Yeah, I don't even know what to call
Everyone's doing
it.
the same weights. Like,
Everyone's doing the same weights. Yeah, I think the weight class men deserve a big show.
Definitely, 100%. I had two people talk about warm-up areas, saying that I can understand our warm-up area isn't.
Cilléin got very triggered. I'm just saying.
Like, I can understand our warm-up area isn't the biggest,
Yeah.
but to complain about the equipment that we have, I genuinely just think it's a load of shit, to be honest with you. Like, sorry, pardon my language, but most of the equipment we have in the warm-up area is exactly the same as you're going out on the platform. And I think it's just because, like, I've done, some higher end shows where like you're literally going out and you're just getting a barbell and that's how you're warming up to do your log pressing. And it's like, especially if you're doing it outside in the rain, in the wind, whereas like in here, you're inside, you're warm. It's.
I think this has been brought up before, and I remember because I'd done one competition and I knew there was a real lack of equipment in that warm up, and it was a high profile show. That for the second time,
Ireland's Strongest Woman.
Let's just say, I actually took a dumbbell.
It was the ultimate Ireland's Strongest.
It was the ultimate.
Sorry,
yeah, I bought a dumbbell with a fat grip because I knew full well there would not be anything to warm up with, and there was nothing to warm up with for the monster dumbbell of 45, 50 kilos.
I think it's 42 or 45 kilos
so
for reps.
when I do, and I don't want to be a dick and shit on people, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it, right? We've been in some very high level competitions, and I watched you manage to get 3 deadlifts in because there wasn't enough weights left out, and you had to go out and pull up 300 kilos.
300, yeah.
Right.
There wasn't enough time.
There wasn't enough time, but was there enough weights even?
There was weights, but it was literally like there was not enough time to recover from the last event. I remember I was going into the warm-up area. My hips were absolutely jacked to pieces. I think I went up to 175 kilos. I know most of the lads didn't even do a warm-up rep. They just went straight into 300.
So just a bit more context. You just done the tire flip, yourself and Diver side by side. Third event, you flew through it. I basically had to go in and drag you out of that fucking the change room. I had to pull you out there and say, get out here and warm up. He's screaming to get everyone out in the field now. Yeah. And we just ran straight over to the bars, stuck 170 on. You done 2 reps. And I think Diver did the same thing. And he done a rep at 220.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was all right. Go
and then I just lay on the grass for a couple of minutes.
Trying to recover.
And so like that then with the monster dumbbell, I knew there wasn't going to be anything out there.
There was nothing like that.
I took a dumbbell with me and a fat grip for the girls to warm up on. So let's put this into context. This is a televised show.
Yeah.
You may not see that on the TV because it's edited out. Yeah. All you're seeing is the guys coming out. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes. OSG, same thing we said about this. Now OSG is actually really well run. I'm not shitting on that either.
It's better than that situation.
But you have up to 40 athletes warming up in the back room, staggered, and you have what you have is what you have there. And I think we had 4 different types of dumbbell. Like they weren't even, there's an inch and there was a monster to warm up on. Different weights. True, OSG Worlds, right? So when I do read a comment like that, and again, like everyone's entitled to their opinion, but put it into context. We've been there. We've been in high level competitions where we have not had the weights. We haven't had the equipment properly, or there's been very substandard equipment there, if anything. And very little time to warm up. So I think when I look at that and go, how much weight, how much stuff we have out there, it's basically everything. You have made trebles and quadruples of stuff so that we actually have, you're warming up on the same equipment pretty much as you would be what's coming out to the platform. So I think people do need to
realize
have a little bit of cop on and a bit of perspective and listen, and you'll see. Like you've spoken about it, I've spoken about it. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have spoken about it before, about how it's not, you don't get dream equipment to warm up on outside. For OSG Worlds, we didn't have a car out the back to warm up on. And that car yoke, supercar yoke, is way different than any other yoke that's out the back. It was just regular yokes. So we didn't have that. You go out. Remember, Sean Diver was there, and he's like, "What's it like?" I said, "You're going to get squashed, mate." As in, it's so tight to get into, like it's so different. So I try and explain to him, you're going to have to really get in snug, get hands down, fit yourself into it, because the yokes outside were completely different. So I think have a bit of perspective. Is it a sense of entitlement? I don't know. They haven't been in fields. A lot of people, like we said there earlier, you haven't been warming up in fields. You haven't been doing competitions in fields with
competing in the rain.
Thank God.
And you haven't.
Thank God it's gone past that.
Exactly.
And we've ran comps in a field like
absolutely
years ago.
One of our first ones. But to understand that, yes, we will take that on board, and yes, we look to improve. And maybe, there are other events out there and competitions where they haven't had equipment and they haven't had, we know because we've been to a lot of them, and we will try and we will look at improving. But I think as a standard, we're pretty damn good.
We're pretty damn, yeah.
I think so as well. Like you said, like there's always who's fell back there. If there's who's fell out here, they can do sandbag picks and stuff like that. There's plenty of weights back there. There's always someone back there to help out as well. Sharon's usually back there, ideally, because she's the best at it. I like having her back there. My own personal critique of our warm-up area is we don't have a run. There's nowhere for them to do a run with the farmers, and you have to just march, which is a perfectly adequate warm-up in my eyes. And it's more again than you guys have seen in a lot of international, and I've seen in international competitions as well. Again, we've all been in them competitions where you go straight into like, a 140, 150 farmers, maybe 100 farmers for you, Ayshea, and haven't not seen
actually exactly the same. And they're going all of these competitions,
and maybe not having even done a pickup of a farmer's before that, because it's just not there to do. You might just hold a barbell to warm your hands up or something like that, and do some RDLs to get your hamstrings warmed up. And like, I want to run things to the highest standard. Now, at the moment in GSP, there's not much else we can do with the space we have. As far as the warm-up area goes, we can run a better competition. We can, there's definitely little things we can do on the platform, I think. But as far as the warm-up area goes, I don't think there's anything else we can do right now. I'd like to, and we do plan on maybe at some stage moving bigger. And then we'll definitely have like a better warm-up area. But for now, I mean,
it's more than enough.
I think it's more than enough, guys. I really do.
So I know for my first Ireland Strongest Man, I came in 3 weeks' notice. I was like 22 years old. First event, 450 kg yoke. I had a I had a resistant band to warm up with.
Exactly.
I just did some deadlifts with a resistant band, and like that was it. And like I think I'd only done like 260, 270 on a yoke before.
And like that's not right.
No.
Absolutely.
That is not right. No. I do not think that's okay. Just for the record here. For everyone
but I think what we did in context, and I think one of the comments was, health, the athlete safety is paramount, right?
It is,
And absolutely.
100%.
And I fully believe that the equipment and everything we have out there is going to give you way more chance.
Absolutely.
Than what we have experienced, and what we will continue to experience. I think. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon with some of the.
Like when I pick events in GSP, I am mindful of warming up as well. Like now, since Carol, oh Jesus, battery's running low. You get a charger, quick. That's gonna go dead.
Excuse me, guys.
We might just have a Spotify here. So like what a lot of people would have noticed is we haven't had super yoke in GSP for a long time. Now, part of that is because Carol broke his leg under a super yoke, and no one wants to see that. Was horrific. And I just I seen another leg break at OSG. Nancy something, I can't remember her surname, snapped her leg the same way Carol did at OSG. So like, just oh god, do we want to do yoke? But I'm going to run one in League 3. But in GSP, while we run the competitions the way we do now, with the seating area out here where we're sitting right now, and then the competition area and where the racks are and the warm-up area, with a yoke you need to do runs.
You do.
I don't think picks are enough. I think you need to do a bit of movement. Marching, you can't. If it's a really, really heavy yoke, marching. No, you can't really march with it. Where you can with a farmer's, and you can with a Husafel. You can with a sandbag even. We can't really. I just don't think there's enough warm-up space here for a super yoke. Even setting up a super yoke out the back there would be a pain in the hole, space-wise. You know, so like we definitely pick events that we think people can warm up on safely while they're here as well, because. That's a massive factor as well. Like no one wants to see injuries. We've all been there, and we don't want to see anyone in that situation.
I think as well, this all kind of ties back to like why we brought this up in the first place, is because we want to be able to create bigger and better shows for it, so that like these things don't happen. So I understand these people are saying that like they want these things changed, but like they have to kind of understand like the limitations that we have on this, and that like funding is definitely a huge part of it, like especially when we're so limited to the space that we have.
Yeah, a huge part of it. And like there's like I've spoken to a lot of people. There's a venue in Galway that I want to use. It's quite expensive to get for the weekend, but it will, make things better for everybody. Athletes will love it. There'll be better warm-up area. Everything will be really cool. Spectators. It's about a 400 seater, I think, or 500 seater. Not saying we'd fill it out the first time we ever use it or anything, but it'll be a really big step in the right direction.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like an important part of it is warm-up space and everything down there. And
one thing, actually, just go back for like warm-ups and everything, like we did kind of say beforehand that if we're running just say like an inters or novices that will not have the whole competition done in an hour and a half. Yeah, that will like slow it down a little bit more. Like, I can definitely understand because that's intense. Like, I never mind having a fast show, like, but when I know it's a little bit lighter for them as well at the same time, like, but a couple of more. Yeah,
so bit more so time. I think like class 2 in particular. No, class 1. Sorry, class 2 was fine. I think for the cup. In February, but class 1
they got it the worst.
They got it the worst. They ended up. I think they were ran off in an hour and a half or an hour and 20.
5 events. Like,
5 events. I think there was only 8 lads. See, it ended up being not so many lads in the category. Now we were charging in for the day as well, so you kind of want to keep a crowd around and everything else, and you're building up towards the cup. And we were on a time deadline for the cup. So I probably should have, in fairness, given them lads a few more minutes in between. And I'm 100% guilty of just like we plowed through that. I think at some stage I did stop for 10 minutes. I think there were 2 or 3 events in. I was like, okay, lads. I was looking at them going, holy shit, they look dead. So we did. We kind of pulled things back a bit there. But it's something I'm going to be mindful of as well, like, and try not to kill it. Now, like,
it's about getting balanced. It's not like an hour in between stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, like, I know at the INSF Nationals, a lot of the open guys in particular were like, oh, Jesus, that's killing us too fast. Can we slow down? I was like, no. None of the 105 guys said that. So, like, and like when the 105s are out, the open guys kind of got their rest or warm up and vice versa. So, kind of made me just think that the open guys weren't conditioned enough or used to the speed of the competition. I think maybe 2.5 hours for them.
So I think it was reasonable. 2.5 hours.
I thought it was fine as well, to be honest. Like, I know a lot of them did. They were dying, but like a couple of them they jokingly said for UK and S, can we get more rest in between events? And I was like, no. But like they know now what's coming. I think that's a big part of it. They just didn't know what was coming, and they didn't know how quick it was going to be. Well, we have gotten more efficient as time goes on.
I think as well, especially for like open weight athletes, it's very easy just to get lazy in your training.
Yes, and just get strong.
And taking like, I'm a big guy, I need more rest because I'm lifting this big weight. Yeah. And it's like, but you also need to be fit enough to be able to kind of recover in time. So, because like, there's no point, you could be really, really strong, but like, if you've no conditioning, it's like that strength is never going to show.
I think, we go back to the same thing that Kayla come up with. It's 5 minutes of work, max normally. So, 5-minute works in 2.5 hours.
Keep that in mind.
And the thing is, like, if we want to run good live stream with good value for viewers and potentially charge for it down the line, so that again that feeds into running bigger competitions, we can't just have massive gaps of no competition. We kind of do need to just keep things ticking over the whole time. That's why I like running 2 different categories back to back, because you'll always have one of them out there at a time. But if we run in 2 categories like that and then the opens are dying, we give them 10 or 15 minutes, what's going on in the live stream? Nothing. Now, for UK's, we're bringing in the commentators. So that's going to, we're trying to fill a gap there with that, and maybe question, bringing some athletes over and talking to them and stuff. So that's going to fill some gaps in there. But we weren't set up for that at the time either. We're trying to fix all these little things and make it all better.
There was one person, and I really hope they were taking the piss, saying that we were too slow with the competition. I really hope it's sarcasm. Otherwise, this person is a genuine psychopath.
Unless they just weren't at a competition of ours in the last year.
That's the only thing I can think of that they haven't been.
As I say, as one of the loaders, we are busting our holes getting these done, to be honest.
You're dying, like.
It's tough. We try and do it as quick as we can, but like we do, like it's. And I know sometimes it can be we get a bit caught up trying to figure out weights, but I think you do just go a little bit brain dead when you're constantly
towards the end of the day.
When you're going over up and down and trying to figure out weights and stuff, like it can be a bit.
Yeah. So again, like there's a small thing I spoke to a few of the lads about here Saturday morning, like John in particular, and that have done a little bit of loading, and Derek. It's like before Limerick and UK's, we're going to have full lists of exactly what weights and plates go on every implement for every weight.
Absolutely.
So that just speeds up things for us and makes it more efficient for us. Which the athletes probably won't like, but because it'll be quicker. But look,
Okay, yeah. So a few things about the live stream. Yeah, so people were saying that they'd be willing to pay for the live stream. They were also kind of saying about like, you know, to announce kind of like the weights and stuff, like, because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for them to know what the weight, and I can totally understand that as well. Like, you know, it's,
I think again that's where we need the commentary team.
Commentary to come into,
that,
to kind of keep in a bit of a feedback on it, like, because you understand from the live stream you might get like a little bit left out in some senses, like you might not be entirely sure.
You're literally just watching people run back and forth.
Yeah, literally,
you know, and lifting up and down.
Yeah, so it's definitely something we have definitely kind of keep in mind. So other people saying a video breakdown of the rules, just for the events and everything, like, just because we find it a bit misleading just reading. But you said you'd done a breakdown from the last one, had you? Or?
So before INSF, I done a online athlete meeting essentially, where I kind of, rather than do a big athlete meeting out the back for 15-20 minutes, I just put the video out there and said, if you have any questions, stick them in the comments below and I'll answer you tonight. And it seemed to work quite well. And then just before that category started, or two categories started, I just went back in the warm-up room and said, lads, blah, blah, blah. These are, you know, the rules up here on the wall again. You've all seen the video. Have you any questions? Sometimes it was no, sometimes it's one or two. And that was the athlete meeting over in 5 minutes. Yeah. So it makes things more efficient again. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try and improve on that as well and do full videos of these are the rules for this event.
Yeah.
And we might go through it, like have someone do an event essentially in the gym here. And that might help too.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. So I think then, you know, the other kind of thing that was kind of mentioned in them was two people that talked about seminar and skills demonstrations. And this is something that has been done a few times, but it can be quite hard to actually kind of get people to kind of commit to it. Like,
I think we would have done it for fundraising the past few years, and everyone will be like, "Oh, it's brilliant! Yeah, that's great. I want to go," and then people don't go. So you end up with, like, I've done it as fundraisers, and like people have been really good. They might have bought tickets, but they don't turn up, and that's fine. Yeah. But if you're going out there to do a seminar, you want people to actually commit and come in and do it. Yeah. So it's definitely something I know I was looking to get sorted out on the website. To go, okay, this is what we can do. We can do this for you. This is what it's going to cost, and then go from there and see if the interest is in there for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But it's definitely something like that we really like doing the seminars. The one we did last year for OSG fundraiser, we had Gail come down from the north talking about mobility and, you know, rehab and prehab.
That was actually a really good,
it was
informative
very good
seminar.
Yeah. So we know that there's a place, I think, for Strongman for a seminar.
Yeah.
We have such a good knowledge base. I think now in this country, we have got some very good international strong athletes that have experience, have come through that system. You're one of them. That we can actually give that knowledge back to people. Now they'll start to understand it. Not everyone gets to see the podcast, you know, and it's also not very personal. So it's a case of if we can be in a room with someone where they can actually come and talk to us. I think it's a really good idea. Yeah, definitely.
I'd definitely be up for more seminars and everything, like just to teach the new people as well, kind of how to do things properly.
It's fun. It's actually quite fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I feel like everybody can gain from good from it. Like
100%.
Again, it kind of more comes down to other people committing to it. Like, there's no point getting this all together and only having a handful of people to sit there and listen, because it's as much as you want to share, we don't want to be like, you know, fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You want to spread the message to as many people as possible, or, you know, teach as many people as possible at one time.
Yeah, because we'll even have the possibility of doing like a Cerberus seminar as well at some point, if all provided the interest is there. We get the whole Cerberus team together, and
it'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I definitely think so. That was kind of all the notes taken from all the different responses.
30 responses, by the way, people, which was fantastic.
Yeah, very happy with that.
It's great to see, because like it means that people, they want to be heard. Because we put a post up, and I said comment, you know, in the comments below, like no, like I think like 2 people commented, so it kind of made me think, right, maybe people don't want to be, they want to discuss, and they want to be heard, and they want to have their opinion, but they don't want to probably get up and caught up in a public, you know, debate, because people will go, oh, that's stupid, and blah blah blah, which none of it's stupid, right? Okay.
I think I want to put that across. Even the things that we don't agree with, right? Even when we talk about the warm-up room, and it's not us taking offense because it's our gym, because I've been to other competitions, and it's tenfold better than some of the top competitions I've been to for warm-up areas,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So it's not just about here. I think it's just getting a perspective of understanding. And like we said, we're still going to look at how we're always looking at how we can improve things. So every comment that came in, even if we were a little bit like, oh, really?
Yeah.
It's still your opinion.
Yeah.
And it's still on board. It's still in our brain going, okay, well, if that's the deciding factor between 2 or 3 people not competing, then we need to look at it as, where do we accommodate people?
Like I said earlier, I already acted on the trophy thing. I've already acted on, someone mentioned like a food truck or something, or snacks would be good.
Yeah.
So for
Managed to,
Limerick this weekend, Shane does that already in LPC. They have a little shop going there, counter to sweet toasted sandwiches and blah, 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 and coffees, teas, all that, drinks. When I say drinks, I mean soft drinks and water and
Cans.
and UK's, then I've managed to get a food truck to come down. So he'll be doing sandwiches, snacks, coffees, teas, iced coffees. It's a really cool little coffee truck, snack bar thing, whatever it's called. So like I'm already acting on a lot of the stuff people are talking about in it.
I think
I always want to do that.
I think these are things that we would have thought about as well before, and I think that's nothing has to come across, because a couple of years ago we were trying to contact food trucks to come up for the service cup or something, and I remember even going to Supermax down the road, right? And he was like, "Oh no, we don't come out for like more than it has to be more like 1,000 people at your venue." And I'm like, "For the fuck's sake, like it's not the Galway races. You're down the road." But a lot of people don't want to. They're kind of, "Oh, we're not sure." So we're really lucky that this person's coming down, and hopefully that if it's a good gig and people are buying, and that's the other thing, lads, you've got to be buying from.
People have to be buying,
Ask for a food truck and don't buy nothing.
Because we probably will get him for most of our comps going forward, as long as people are buying from him, and he's actually making his work, because he's not charging us. But a lot of them want to charge the person that owns the venue. So he's not charging us. He just wants to make some sales. So if he makes some sales, he keeps them back. I mean, like, people have kind of said, like, why don't you sell snacks and stuff there? You'd make a few pound it. Well, okay, we could do that ourselves, but for me, I try and focus on running as good a competition as possible. For me, it's about running a really good, efficient show. So I don't want to waste someone
in the shop.
Okay, we could make a couple $100, but that could help run competition stuff. But we might make much another day. So I'm like, fuck it, we'll just not do that. Let someone else at it, and I'll keep the extra person for running a good competition.
Totally.
I think for me, it makes just more sense. Like, and then there's the hassle of making sandwiches and teas and coffees and getting the right person to do it. Not everyone can make a good cup of tea, lads.
No, exactly that. I do think, though, probably from the perspective, if we don't have a truck here, what we'll look to do is just get bottles of water in it, even.
And
bars, honesty box, like we said there, we had
before,
saying, and just throw the money into the box, because again, well, we have Monaghan's down the road, and that's not that far, but still, if you don't want to miss the competition, or if you're an athlete, it's something we take on board as well and bring back again.
So, anything else?
No, that's kind of all the points I've taken down.
Okay, so like, again, folks, like, we're not doing this to bite back at anyone, or we're taking on board some of the points that people are making, for sure. And it's like, okay, we had a big chat about the warm-up area, and like, we think it's adequate, and I do personally want to have a bigger warm-up area, but at the moment there's nothing we can do. We pick events that we think that people can warm up on adequately and safely, again, based on our experience in the sport. And that's what we use, say, in GSB here, whatever other venue we're using, so I think
that's everything.
I think that's everything. So, guys, thanks a million for the feedback as well, because it's massive. It's massive.
I can't believe, like 30 people.
30 people, and like,
it's really good.
If any other promoter is out there listening to this, and you're listening to some of the stuff we're doing and some of the feedback that's on the forum, sure, steal it. It's only going to help the sport. Use it.
Totally.
Use every bit of it.
Like, if we
listen to this podcast.
We wouldn't be putting on the podcast if we didn't.
We wanted to keep it to ourselves.
We wanted it to go across the board, and for everyone kind of to pull in and learn something from it.
So, I think that's it, guys.
Great. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Still recording.